The 5 proven plays that you can deploy. We survey dealers across the country, and our team is talking to over 6,500 dealers every single month. And when we talk to our dealers, we hear common pain points. So what our team does behind the scenes is we work with Google, Facebook, and other industry professionals around to try to solve your pain points and drive first-party traffic and leads and stuff to your dealership. That's ultimately what this is about. So when you look at this, how many of you guys, if you guys don't mind sharing, like what is your biggest pain point that keeps you up at night right now before we get started, and see if we hit any of your pains here. So anybody want to take a stab? Biggest pain point?
Hiring good people.
Hiring good people, great.
Personnel.
Personnel, one of the number one things we hear. What else? What else do we hear? How many of you, first and foremost, are dealers? Show of hands. Vendors? Agencies? OEM? Anybody else that's unidentified? All right. This is dealer focused. We focus only on dealership side of stuff on here. How many of you guys, one of the things I might have heard every once in a while is you guys are pretty dependent on third-party leads, and companies like Auto Trader and Cars and Edmunds, and so a lot of our dealers have told us that they kind of feel that they have to use them, and there's like no way around that. How many of you feel that way? That like they're absolutely needed right now in there? Okay. All right, cool. Well, it's 10:05. I'm going to get started here. I'm Pete Peterson, CEO at Dealers United. Again, we work with about 6,500 dealers around the country to survey and understand their pain points, and then help you guys ultimately get the education around that and put these in place for your dealership. So hopefully today you walk away with 5 things that you can implement at your dealership. These are copy and paste type of things that you can take into your dealership and work with your employees to get implemented on there. Whether you use, I don't recommend copying and pasting the exact templates, but hopefully you'll walk away with the thought strategy to go in and say, okay, this is a pain point, this is how they look at it and how they solve it, and hopefully you can go into your dealership and do it. And this is all data that's fully available to you, whether it's inside of your dealer's DMS or available through third-party data targeting on platforms like Google and Facebook. So even though this is going to show a lot of Facebook slides, don't think that this is only Facebook. This is Facebook, this is Google, this is Oath, which is the new partnership for Verizon with 65 million handheld devices now trackable and targetable out there as well. So there is a lot of stuff happening that gives first-party power to a local dealer. And one of the things I'm going to preference with is I call it a backyard battleship plan. When I look at a dealership, there's only 8 to 10 zip codes that you guys have to actually dominate and be responsible for. You have a major competitive advantage against the auto traders and the cars where they have to serve 55,000 plus zip codes. So when you think about it, think that you have the same exact branding power that they do locally, and you only have to control 8 or 10 zip codes and be really, really good at it. So when you think about it, try to think simplicity. And what these pillars that we're going to go over and the pain points will hopefully give you ways that you can just solve this for your own. Okay? So the first thing we hear a lot of is we can't find qualified service techs or sales reps, right? A lot of people are coming to us saying, man, we've got to go to these vendors. I know there's a lot of great ones that are downstairs, and they're spending a lot of money every month to have these systems developed to try to build hiring and personnel plans and things of the like. We're going to show you exactly how to go and target the exact people that you want to have in your dealership, bring them in for like $30 or $40 on a campaign. Literally, it'll cost you that much. And within 2 or 3 days, you'll fill a position. I'm talking about service techs, diesel techs, sales reps. It doesn't matter. These campaigns will work for pretty much anyone. And one of the big concepts that I want you to start thinking about is we call these called evergreen campaigns. Hiring an employee will never change. You're gonna hire employees for the rest of the time that you own a dealership. It's gonna happen. So it's not like a special that runs only this month and you have to come up with some kind of thing. These are strategies you need to understand and you need to build a playbook around, because if you do it now, it'll work for you for the next 10, 20, 30 years, and you just activate it when you need an employee and you turn it off when you don't. And it just works and then it stops, and it works and it stops, and you don't have to worry about this. And the traditional way is, go to Craigslist, post a post, go to here, post a post, hire recruiters, hire sales guys, hire this, hold these events at my dealership to do all of this. You don't need to do a lot of that today. I'll show you exactly how you can do it. I wish I can go to avoid going to auction. I just sat in the last session on here, which was all about auctions and how auctions now are moving primarily online. They were talking just before that 55% of cars now are being transacted online on the wholesale market without anybody actually going there. That's great for me because I think that there's a lot of wasted time going to the auctions right now, personally, but I also know there's a great learning experience that's gained. You could gain a lot of local knowledge. I'm not trying to say you don't need to do there, but you can get to the cars that you want right now and pull them back in. I'm going to show you your secret weapons. How many are franchise guys in here versus just independent? How many independents that are just pre-owned only? Okay, cool. So this is going to really, really impact a franchise, and I will tell you, some of the techniques in here that I'm going to show you pre-owned is using. Pre-owned is kicking some of our franchise dealer butts right now in the wholesale side of it and the used car side because they get certain things about this. But I will tell you, the franchise dealers have a secret weapon that the independents don't, and I'll give you that as well that you can use to help dominate your local market. Okay, I'm losing my backyard to my competition. How many of you guys are having higher defect rates than normal? That your competition's coming in, sweeping cars out of you and pulling it out, and you're getting nailed from your zone managers telling you that there was a car in your backyard that went to a competitor. How many times, anybody facing that? Okay, I can tell you this is happening a lot, and it's happening to people that are primarily focused on digital or on traditional advertising and haven't shifted a lot more onto digital yet. And people are eating other people's lunch right now with a lot of the tools that exist downstairs where you can analyze a zip code and go penetrate it very fast and steal market share. Okay, and then we can't live without third parties, right? I'm talking about the endemic sites, third-party leads. We want to show you exactly how you can build a first-party lead generation machine so that you can be reliant on your own market and not be reliant on other people. And there's one that's not listed here that I'm going to go into, which is kind of a fundamental principle. We'll cover in the lever one. But everybody wishes they had the magic pill, the magic button, right? It's in movies everywhere. If you watch the sessions with Google or Facebook, people are looking like, what's the secret black hat trick I could do this week that's going to sell me? There is none, guys. There is none. You guys have to build a playbook. Just like you've built processes in your dealership, this is a new digital process that you need to create. Just like you've built your BDC processes or your service processes, these are things that are there. I like to say this is my mother-in-law that's diving down on here and getting rid of her, but that doesn't happen too often in my house. She's around a lot, but we want to deploy the right strategies at the right time so we can go in there. So we're going to give you these 5 proven playbooks. We're going to show you how you can do this. And if we get this question a lot, is there questions at the end? Yes, we're going to leave about 10-15 minutes. You could ask me anything you want. Also, is a deck available? Yes, you can email there. The team will stand by and they'll send you the deck right back instead of giving you some huge URL. So if you go to team at Dealers United and just put in the subject line, it'll also be available at the end. And then obviously, if you like the session, please leave us a positive review on the buttons that you see outside. And also, DD24 is the hashtag for the whole event that's here if you want to follow that online. Okay, so lever one, this is the fundamental principle. A lot of people right now are driving a ton of traffic to dealers' websites. I could argue that a lot of the data is not real people in a lot of cases. If you do studies by NADA, there's a lot of crawlers. If you look at most of your traffic, there's about 50 companies downstairs that are crawling your sites every single day. And you're looking at those as real sessions, real people. The retargeting platforms know they're not. They don't allow you to retarget it. But when you're looking at your web metrics, a lot of people think that you have a lot more sessions than you really do. If you look at the actual users that are on there, if you go to the user data in Google Analytics, or if you're running the Facebook Pixel, and I'm not going to get into how to install some of this, there is some information at the end on how to do Facebook marketing. I'm not going to teach you that in this session. But if you look at it, the number of actual users, and this is a big shift, guys. If you've done online, you've probably been looking at impressions, and you've been looking at cost per thousand, and you're looking at cost per click. They're great metrics, as soft metrics we call them, but when you're talking about users, how many physical people am I talking to, and how many of those can I move to become a known person or a lead, and then how many of those leads can I turn into shows, and how many of those shows can I turn into sales, right? It's a very simple process when you understand that there's just really 4 areas of what we call this new sales funnel that exists. But one of the big areas is, and this is a stat not just in automotive it's a little worse than other areas. Dadium, which got bought by Polk IHS, did a study years ago. They said that only 1.69% of your website visitors are converting into a lead, right? That's pretty awful. So what is the goal? Just send more traffic, right? And we'll just get that 1.69% to convert. No, there's a lot of things you can do, and we're going to show you how to do that right now. But you also have to make sure you're attracting the right type of traffic. There's too many vendors that are downstairs right now that are shoving any traffic they can to your website and just saying, look, we just sent traffic. You can do things like pre-vetting your traffic right now by pulling credit on people before you even run an ad to them and knowing what income bracket they fall into. So if you've got subprime cars or a market that under $10,000, under $15,000 cars that fit a subprime market, you can attract them right to those cars, as well as you can put highline vehicles in front of people that can actually afford a highline. So put the right type of traffic there. That'll start helping this. But one of the big things is you're going to lose a lot of traffic. And in e-commerce, there's only about a 3% conversion rate. So you're not far off of what happens, which means 97% of the traffic will guaranteed bounce off of your site. They're going to leave without taking the action you want on the first visit. So what you have to do is you have to build a proper retargeting strategy. Everything in this world right now, you own the lowest in-market funnel data that you can exist. When someone's shopping a dealer's website, they're closest to the moment of truth or purchasing time than any other website that exists. Better than AutoTrader, better than Cars, better than Edmunds. They're more up here right now. They're shopping. They don't know what they want. They're trying to figure out the car, the price, all of that stuff. When they get down to you, they know kind of what car they want, what price they're looking to pay for, and they're looking to try to align that inventory. But don't stop with the fact that you literally are just shoving more car ads in front of them. The biggest thing that we see with dealers right now is they're not taking advantage of your local brand and who you are. So building a proper retargeting strategy around why someone should buy from you, what your service experience is like, what kind of offers are existing right now. And maybe they're not going to buy that car right now, but maybe offering some coupons to come in and test out your service lane, right? So you have a lot of different options that you can do. And big retailers, I'm sure you've seen this. How many of you shop on Amazon? There's probably not a hand that won't go up in this, right? I mean, they literally own the market right now and online. If you add anything to your basket there and you don't check out, you're going to get an ad on Facebook or Google or whatever medium you go to. I don't care if you're on Pinterest or if you're on Twitter. They know that they just need to follow you. And a lot of times, what truly happens is life gets in the way. We have someone that walks in our office while we had the buy now button ready to go, and we flip 14 tabs to the right to check something, and then that's just one buried tab on there. We literally forgot that, and then all of a sudden our browser crashed and we lose all our tabs, and we're like, Chrome suicide. So we go back up, we bring all of our browsers back up, and we truly forgot what we were doing just 5 minutes ago. Has that happened to any of you guys? This is happening with consumers, and they have your site up and every other site that you could think of up while they're shopping a car. They're on 17, 18 sites simultaneously looking. So you have to break through the noise, and it's not going to happen while they're in that moment of truth looking through all of that. It's when it calms down, they sit down at their work computer, and bam, you hit them. And they're like, oh, it's Monday morning. I don't want to do work, but I'll watch a video for 5 minutes about something. And you have an opportunity to inject your message one-on-one at that point and take the conversation and control it. Does that make sense? So you got to declutter yourself. They're not going to convert in that time. Only 1.69%. So yeah, you have to do the proper pricing. You have to do the proper calls to action. You have to do your A/B testing on your website and use your website providers. But most of the traffic will fail. And they're in market. So use similar tactics and techniques, and it doesn't have to just be about the vehicle. In this case, you should show vehicles that are similar to what they looked like, but you can also give them other types of advertising as well. So think about all the things that are on your website under the About Us page, all the years of history you have, all the great things you do in the community, all the things that are sitting on every one of those tabs that no one is reading anymore, okay? And package those up and bring them out in conversations back to the consumers through YouTube videos, through Facebook advertising, through Twitter, through Pinterest, whatever medium that you like to be on, do it through those things, but have a follow-up conversation. When you do that, you build value. You take it away from just the car purchase, and you'll see that you'll start holding gross a little bit more because it's about the people more than just the vehicle. They're looking for somewhere that they trust, that they want to go into, not just the person that has the best deal on the car. And one of the things I'll just say on before, I was sitting in this and a gentleman was saying, hey, I have some issues. I'm sitting at like 75 days right now on my pre-owned, which is very, very high. Obviously, I don't think that's a good metric. Personally, I think that's very, very high. And the first thing was, well, reprice it. I don't look at repricing as the first thing. It's just a race to the bottom. I think the first thing we have to understand is, did we actually put eyeballs on that vehicle, and was anybody even shopping that vehicle or not, either in store, online, wherever. And now you can take vehicles and segment them out based on all these different attributes. So vehicles that are on your lot for over 30 days, you could take those out and you can deliver them to a market and literally put it in front of thousands of people that can afford that car and that can buy that car and that are in market right now. So So the intelligence is there, guys, to do all of this stuff. And whether you do it internally or you work with a provider to do it, these are the types of things you need to be thinking about, because every business problem that you have literally can be solved by getting to the people that can buy the cars that will ultimately give you the money to pay for the transaction. So use similar things. And so it's pretty easy. The first thing we do, and this again, if you want to see the deck, I don't know why this thing is like, it's a huge projector and can't even show this thing in clear pixel, but is if they hit a Fusion page, right, this is a Ford dealer, if they go to a Fusion page, then we want to continue following them with Fusion conversations. That's one conversation we might build for them. But we also know they hit a Fusion page, which means they're on an SRP page or a VDP page. That means they're deeper in the funnel. We may also want to make sure they understand our specials for the month. We may also want to make sure that they understand why buy from us. We may also have a guy doing a walk around across, one of our employees doing a walk around on a video and comparing the 3 models of the Fusion, so someone can understand the differences between the base model, the mid-level model, and the Highline model that they have, right? And so they can start going through it and telling them from their point of view and being the expert, saying, hey, this is why I love this Fusion. Hey, this has a brand new color in here. What you'll be amazed on, a few years ago, how many of you were told like 10-second videos, 5-second videos, everything was like real short videos, get in front of the consumer, right? And that's because our only play was YouTube. And you had to get in front of them in the first 5 seconds of pre-roll and do that. And so pre-roll in YouTube is a totally different video experience than Facebook, okay? When you're on Facebook, someone will sit there and watch a 3, a 5, a 7-minute video. And those are your buyers. The ones that are sitting there taking 15 minutes, 10 minutes, they're on YouTube too, watching those 15-minute videos. In pre-roll, you have to take a totally different approach. So if you're doing that, you'll take that. But the first thing is make sure you're having the right conversation. Don't go to an F-150 shopper that's on your site and talk to them about Fusions. I guarantee that person's probably not going to buy a Fusion. Totally different buyer. And we see this all the time. We are always doing audits on dealerships, and we'll go in and get in their retargeting strategy. And first of all, they'll be retargeting me in Florida when the dealer's in Nebraska, right? So they're wasting ad dollars on me already because I'm most likely not going to convert there. Proximity has a lot to do with when people buy. But they're also hitting me with everything. Like literally, I'll get $100,000 Maseratis, and then I'll get $10,000 beaters all in the same ad. They have nothing to do with it, and it really puts a bad brand experience from a dealer standpoint. So if you're going to do this stuff, understand what you're trying to accomplish and build a really great ad unit and deliver it out. This is the same techniques, by the way, that are being used by the big guys in the industry right now that are out there. They're just being very smart about what users are taking action, and in this case, they looked at a Fusion and they didn't come and actually convert. So your thank you page, you can say, if they looked at my Fusion, but they didn't actually fill out a page, a form, then keep retargeting them. The second they fill out a form and it says thank you, you can maybe shut that off, and now you might want to put them into a show play, right? You might want to start all about like, hey, this is why you want to show up. We have a VIP test drive experience. It's going to be awesome. It's less than 30 minutes. You'll get a $25 gift card if you're incentivizing, right? This is what our service experience looks like. You've now taken it away from the car buying experience, and now you start the conversation about getting them to show up and what it's going to be like and future stating them on that side of it. Okay, so you can do this very simply in Facebook and Google. If you're running your own traffic, you can go in there and just carve out traffic by who hits what pages on there. And it's very simple. Every brand has 7 or 8 models that you have. Just go in there and carve out the traffic and say if the URL contains whatever model and it doesn't contain the thank you, now you have a bucket of people. And what you'll also see is how many people are actually hitting those pages. So when you go in there and a GM's trying to say, well, how many shoppers do I have right now for F-150s, you can go right in there and look at your pixel and say, oh, in the last 30 days, I have 1,100 people. People, not impressions and all this other crap that you can't sell to, but I have people. Now your goal as a marketer is take those 1,100 people and get them to identify themselves so that your sales guys can do their job and sell, or your BDC can go out and set the appointment, right? But it's really about that. You have 1,100 people that you need to move from swim lane of I don't know you to swim lane, I need to get to know your first name, email, and phone number to set the appointment. Does that make sense, guys? Is this making sense on how to do this? So build a baseline retargeting strategy. So again, here in the case, Andy visited a Fusion VDP. He hasn't bought, so we're going to retarget them through the news feed in the right-hand column with other Fusions. So the one they may have looked at, we'll keep that over there on the right-hand side. Then we'll also bring other Fusions to them that are similar in pricing. Again, I'm not going to put a $70,000 Fusion that's all decked out in front of someone that's been shopping $30,000 Fusions. The chances are he will convert on the $70,000. He will never show because he can't afford it, and if he does show, he most likely will not get financed on that vehicle anyway, and you're working a backwards deal. So you want to try to connect the consumer to what they can actually do. So if they also visit your trade-in page, you think about this. If they hit a trade-in page, what would you say to that customer if they didn't fill that form out, right? You obviously know they're on the trade-in page because they want to find the value of their car. So what would you follow them back up with to try to help them continue that conversation? Right, so these are just, think about things like exactly what you're doing on the sales floor, exactly what you're doing in your dealership, creating conversations. Do the same thing online and you'll see a world of difference for your dealership. And these run all the time. So if someone today hits a Fusion page, they get this, and in a month from now they get this. If they hit the trade-in page, it's the same thing. And the one thing I could tell you is, as dealers, stop thinking in 30-day cycles where it's only about specials, and it's because the OEM told you have to run a special from the 5th day of the month to the end of the month. This runs every day, all day long, and the only thing that changes is specials. So you just add that in. So when you get a Fusion special, you just pop it in there and you hit all the 1,100 people that have been on your site for Fusions, and now you can hit them with a pricing message. Does that make sense? Okay, so again, this is just the do's and don'ts. Don't go ahead and don't show F-150s to Fusion shoppers. Try to keep people in price ranges that are on here, and make sure you're retargeting people with similar vehicles and things that are related to what they're trying to do on there, okay? So the second thing, service techs. This is a big area, right? How do we pre-qualify candidates and get them into our dealerships to apply? So most users on Facebook, and obviously people are probably seeing a lot of things that are in the Facebook side of it. We work with Facebook every single week. We have a partnership with them and Google. All the things that you hear, there's things that are going away. I can tell you it's still the most powerful platform for proactively reaching anybody that's in your community, and it will continue that way, whether they remove certain data points or not. As consumers, we continue to give them massive amounts of data about us, whether we grant it to them or they get it from some other party. You'll be able to target on that. So in here, if you look, most people will put when they're signing up for things or over time, where you have worked, what you're interested in. You can target people on that. So obviously if I'm a Ford dealer and I find someone who loves Fords and is also a technician, I probably want them representing my brand because they are a geek on Fords. They love to turn wrenches on Ford vehicles. So I can go out there and proactively reach them and hit them with ads that say, hey, we're hiring service techs. And if you have a program around that, or if you're working with a local trade school, like I know in Sarasota, we work with a trade Suncoast Polytechnical School down there, we'll actually pay to send someone through that program. So if we sponsor that kid through the program, we're gonna get a hire on there. So use your local resources that you have and build this. You can easily reach people that are interested in automotive repair or technicians that are on there and that are currently working probably at another dealership. And there's a lot of people that are in other dealerships that are getting paid a lot less money than they should be making, and it's an easy way. If you have good culture, good benefits, and you want to go in and bring someone over, you could poach them right out of someone else's dealership in about 2 seconds. Know this about your dealership too. You know, this is why it's important to bring strong benefits, strong values to them. But you can come in here and you can look for people with specific jobs, find their relevant experience. You can look for their professional skills. You can also find out if they're interested in your OEM, like a Ford-related page. And then also think about how far someone would physically commute to you. If they're not going to commute more than 2 or 3 miles because you're in a densely populated area, don't go out 30, 40 miles. We see dealers all the time taking a pin and just dropping it out and just hitting these massive areas. Be a little smarter with it. Go zip codes. Find out where your employees live. Like for me, I know for certain types of jobs, employees live in 2 pockets. That's it. For my sales teams, they're in pocket A, which is down here, or pocket B up here. I don't have anybody that lives in the main corridor of where we actually work. So it's easy for me to build audiences out on there and target those folks that live in that area and say, hey, if you're a sales professional, blah, 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 and I can go out with that. And I'll show you some ads that we kind of run on here. But this is using a lead ad. So this is a native ad inside of Facebook. They don't even have to leave Facebook in order to give you their information. So one of the easiest ways is you can run the actual application. You can ask custom questions in here. You can direct them to a application page to upload their resume if you want, or you can say, hey, at the end of this, fill this out, and then, by the way, now send an email to, careers@sarasotaford.com and with your resume if you want, and now you can put it all together on there. again, when we run these ads, in most cases, within 3 to 5 or 7 days, we're seeing massive amounts of applications come in, and dealers saying, turn that ad off. And it's because they're filling the positions that are on there. And this is a thing that we encourage every one of our dealers to just have sitting in their playbook ready to go, because when they call up, they're like, hey, I need a service tech. Okay, we just light it up. Oh, I need a sales guy, just light it up. And then when they call you back up, you just turn it off. Or if you're in the internal internet manager, build this campaign out, and you'll see that you'll be a rock star, because you can fill a pipeline really, really quick of qualified employees that are looking for careers right now. The other big thing is Facebook allows us to load custom data up into it. So you could take either your customer list, you could take your prospect list, or where most people fail is they don't look at their employee list. Dealers employ on average about 65 employees according to NADA in a franchise dealership. You qualify at that point to take all your employees. You just need 20 people in a Facebook custom audience. You load them all in, and you tell Facebook to go find people who look like your current employees. And what they do magically, I don't know how they do this. They do it with car shoppers, they do it with prospects, they do it with employees even. They will start running ads into your local market to about 33,000 people that look like the people who already work for you. So it could be characteristics maybe of schools they went to, or education, or sporting events that they go to similarly. It's kind of weird. We have a pocket in ours. A lot of our team, they're really into Frisbee golf. I didn't know that when we hired them, but it's kind of weird because they all have this little community now of Frisbee golf. Is it Frisbee? No, Ultimate Frisbee, sorry. I get the two mixed up, Ultimate Frisbee. But Facebook knows that kind of stuff, and if they're all of a sudden they start finding it, they'll bring better people, which again, will help your community around there. So you can come in here and easily do that. Again, something similar that most people don't do is they don't look at their career page or any page that's related to that, or just anybody who's visited your site. Recently, I was looking over one of these campaigns for a dealer, and he actually hired a guy that bought a car from him because he hit the SRP page. We were just retargeting all traffic. The gentleman purchased a car, and then he applied for a job and got a job there, all through the same experience. So he double opted in. First on the car, second he came through with the employment ad, because we retargeted him after he already submitted a lead with, hey, because we noticed that he was a technician, we said, hey, if you're a technician, would you like to do this? Now I got a customer, he's been through our experience, loves our dealership, and now he works for us, right? It's awesome. So you can build this by just having this on here and highlight your current dealers, your current employees on here. And they like seeing their face all over, and people come in like, hey, their friends say, hey, I saw you on Facebook, that's awesome. I didn't know you worked at Sarasota Ford. How's it going? And a referral is your best type of employee that you're gonna get. So it really helps with that, okay? Does that help a little bit so far on kind of employee side of it? Do you think that those campaigns might be able to help you? I could tell you that our dealers that use them, they work, and they don't have some of the big name brands that are downstairs that charge thousands of dollars a month and have them on a monthly fee, and it's $20,000 or $30,000 to have these systems to do it. It's like $30 ad on Facebook that literally is driving them, and the rest of it is just doing your stuff behind the scene, which is interviewing it, making sure they're a good fit for your dealership. And what we find with the two common problems, right, with cars and people, is you're not getting enough eyeballs on those different things, right? You're literally not getting your stuff in front of the people who can buy or the people who can apply to your jobs. And by smartly segmenting those people out and going and having a conversation with them proactively and not waiting for them to go to Google. By the way, would you rather hire someone that's already has a job or someone that's looking for a job? Poaching, right? Because they're already in there, they're employed. This is the way to do it, guys. You go right in, and it'll be hitting every one of your competitors in a 10-mile radius of their techs, and you'll get the best of the best that are unhappy where they're at and are looking for a change. So think about what you can offer that's different employee benefits. This is why it's really important to build a strong employee culture too, because it goes back to that whole motto, right, of damn if I train them, right, but shit if they stay and they're not trained, I got to deal with them as employees. So the more that you can do to train your employees, retain them, keep them happy, you won't have to worry about someone poaching your employees, and use this as a competitive advantage because you can quickly build up your dealership through it. Next part on here is the auction side of it. This is probably my favorite, and again, if you're a franchise dealer, secret weapon right now. Not saying that this can't be done on the independent side, but this side for me is, this changes the game. So what I see, when I talk to most dealers, they tell me, oh, I control my market. I'm selling every Ford F-150 in my market. That's awesome. You're doing great. I guarantee you're not. Either the pump in and pump out reports say that you're not, even though you're saying they are. Even 70%, it's a lie in a lot of ways, okay? The defect ratios that are happening, it's real simple. I can take your customer list, load it into Facebook, and then I can go find all the model line owners that are in your zip codes that you're in your PMA, and I can literally look and see the delta on there with Facebook right now, right? You have about 6 more months before that goes away until it gets a little more complicated on how that works. So if you're looking to do these types of campaigns, you need to do them in the next 6 months. Actually, about 2 months to create them and about 4 more months to let them ride, because Facebook's changing some of the data targeting on the backside with Oracle, which is Polk IHS data. So right now, if you get your system unlocked, it's called, you can actually target up to 110 model line owners, okay? So if you look and you want to target, obviously an F-150, number one truck, right, is being sold, and you look in a market, and you take the F-150 in that area, and you look at what you sold in F-150s, and you look at your zip code, and say you had 1,000, and there was 4,000 there, you now have 3,000 people who are not in your customer file. That means they're not servicing with you, they're not buying with you, they're not doing anything. That's the guys I want to talk to. They live in my backyard, they already own a Ford, and what's an F-150? Is that a loyal buyer? Are they probably going to buy another F-150? Hell yeah. So look at your loyal buyers. If you're an Accord shop, if you're a Honda shop in Accord, I almost can guarantee that person will release or buy another Accord time in and time again, right? But you are not selling. You have to understand, you are not selling or leasing every vehicle in your market. And so you can use this data, if you just admit to yourself that you are not selling everything, to your power right now, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look and we're gonna do some like just little brainstorming, right? What models do we want to go bring in right now and into our dealership, okay? So what would you like to have right now? If you could just bring those customers right to you and they could buy cars from you, what would it be, right? So let's just take the F-150. So we got the F-150. First and foremost, we could take a look at all the people that are on our site that are shopping F-150s, or all the people that are on our site, specifically on our site are F-150s. And again, because I have your customer list, this is where a lot of dealers don't want to give up. They think, well, I'm not going to give Facebook my data. I hate to tell you guys, they're partnered with Polk. Polk knows every car, not just your cars, they know every car. And it's a lot more accurate than any data file we ever get. I have better data on your customer than you have on your customer from an outside standpoint. And you do as well. As dealers, you can get this data as well inside Facebook, inside of Google, and you can use it. But dealers are kind of like standoffish a little bit with giving the data files. Again, I wouldn't hand my DMS data to a Conquest email provider or to some of these guys that are out there saying, I'll do all this stuff. I don't know what they're doing. But Facebook and Google, if you read their terms and conditions, and they're publicly traded companies, and they have the FTC that's like literally over their back, and if they screw up like you see right now with what's going on, they're going to take some heavy wrath. And if Zuckerberg goes to jail because of it, then he goes to jail because of it. But you have people protecting you on that. A lot of vendors that are in this space are not under that scrutiny. So be very careful about handing your data over to someone that is not in that kind of space personally. These two areas, if they tell you they have eyeballs, this is proven. 2 billion eyeballs on Facebook. Literally, 2 billion of them. Even with the deletion of data that's recently happening from profiles, there's 2 billion targetable, which doesn't matter in the world. There's 266 million people in the US that you could target on Facebook, Instagram, Messenger. How many total people live in the US? Does anybody know? 330 million estimate. So about 66% of America is targetable right now through Instagram, Facebook, or Messenger. Right now, I can pull out my phone and run an ad to anybody in my local market, and I pretty much say that I can hit them, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at your website data. We're gonna look at people who have been on there that are on the F-150 page. We're gonna suppress our customer data, so we're not just giving offers to our customers, okay? Second, we're gonna look at the non-out-of-the-box data. So if you go into Facebook, you see this. If someone just creates a new Facebook ad account, you see this, and there's a whole bunch of stuff, and it's like, oh, look, I have access to all this data. No, when you're like an Oracle Premier partner or a dealer that requests to be unlocked, you can get the data that's down below here, which is like model line data. Who owns a specific model line car? Who's shopping lease vehicles versus buy vehicles? Even deeper than what you can get through anything else. A ton of data that's out there, okay? So we cannot get that data unlocked if you're an in-house marketer right now and you want to do this and you already have a Facebook account. Again, we can help you get that data unlocked for you. We also are 100% unlocked on that to be able to do that. But here's the trick. Use a highly enticing offer. This is called a tripwire campaign in the digital marketing world. You don't try to sell a car to someone for the first time. You got to get them to experience your dealership and who you are. You have the best experience center in the world called a service center. If you can this is the funny thing. Dealers will go out and sign up with these vendors for $25 gift card test drives. The person will come in and one out of however many will buy a car, right? And they just give away $25 to do that. But yet they won't lose $20 on an oil change to bring in the exact vehicle owner that is not buying from them today, to put him on their service bay, put it on a lift for an hour where they can go, hey, used car manager, I got a car on the lift that I think we want. Can you do a quick runaround inspection? You're not sitting in 30 seconds in a lane at Odessa or any of these other guys jumping in trying to figure out, is that the car I want to buy? You literally have it in your service center for an hour. By the way, it's a Ford F-150 shopper or owner. You can literally say, hey, would you like to test out the new aluminum body, right? There's a whole bunch of new changes to this. Would you like to experience it and just go out? You're going to be here for an hour anyway. Why don't you go test drive one of my vehicles? Just give them a set of keys, let them go out for a coffee real quick. Buy them a Starbucks gift card. That's your ideal customer of who you want right now. So again, start with the end in mind. I want F-150 shoppers. Here's how I get it. I get them in. And by the way, I can now present an offer to them. I can run equity on that car, I can present an offer to them, and I can buy that vehicle right out of the service lane, or at least send them home with papers that gets their mind thinking, shit, I could trade keys. I could trade keys for a brand new one. I'm in a 14 right now, I can get into a 17, 18 right now. I got CPOs available, I got brand new ones. These are the ways that you have to attack your market, guys. Bring the customers to you that you want. Does this make sense? This to me is like the holy grail. If I was a dealer for the next 6 months, I would be running just this across every single maker model I want in, and I'd be doing market research on what vehicles I'm selling right now, and I would just be stocking the crap out of all of them. You don't have to go to auction to get those because you know what's selling, you know what's going off the lot already. Just go attract your ideal customer and pay to get them in, but make sure you have a play internally. The reason we use 998, it indicates to the service center that we brought them in off of a specialized campaign that they were targeted for Conquest. So that kicks off the play internally. 998 goes, boom, I have a play. I send a ping to someone. I have an email system that automatically hits it. Sales reps engaged, used car service managers engaged. It's an all-out attack to get that car back. I follow military approaches, guys. I don't look at I just do a bunch of things, right? I go in to look at one thing and I sniper it out and I go, that's what I want, and I grab as many of them as I can. So if there's 3,000 of my ideal customers, I want to grab as many of that market share as I possibly can and put them in. There's no other thing I need to do but do that really, really, really well. And then I own the F-150 market. And by the way, I'm selling F-150s, I'm pulling them back in, which obviously have high resale value at the end of the day. And it's a great play, and the dealers that are using this right now are there. This is an okay offer. I can tell you 998 works really, really well. $35 doesn't get them excited. Here's the thing that we see a lot, and I don't know if you guys have studied what happens when someone doesn't buy an F-150 from you and they actually bought from your competitor outside, is they probably were working the deal with you too, and you lost it. And what happens in psychology is we feel bad as humans, and we don't want to go back to the place that we basically rejected, right? So what we do is we defect even further out because we bought from the place that was 60 miles away because we thought we had to go to the big city to get the best deal. So we go 60 miles away. We're never going to go service that vehicle there. So not good for them, not good for me. So as Ford, we lose because what they do is they go to the quick service. They go to the Costco's, the Jiffy Lubes, and all of those other places, and no one gets to build loyalty at that point. So they just become off in the distance. So as a brand and trying to bring it back in, this is a way for you to really build brand loyalty and recontrol your market and say, hey, you know what, we screwed up. I want to welcome you back into the family. It was our fault. We screwed up somewhere. I don't hold it against you. I'm not going to take off your other license plate. I'm not going to get pissed off, and I won't say anything to you when I see a frame from my competitor in there. I might swap it out in the service lane. I don't know if I really want to, but those are the ways that you can do it, guys. And this is what's happening, and this is why dealers are losing their markets in a lot of ways, because little by little they're slipping and they're going away on things. And this campaign alone will bring them back in. This doesn't get people excited. 998 gets them excited because it's a discount to what they're already getting. And when you get a thing for 998, you're like, dude, 998 and I get synthetic oil in this, that deal cannot be met by anyone. So I would highly encourage you to look at this thing, but don't just give it away. If your goal is just be like, hey, you know what? I ran a whole bunch of these cars through and I did 998 and you didn't do the rest of the play, then you failed. Don't even do it. Because all you're doing is losing money because that customer is going to do the 998 campaign. He's probably going to go to the Jiffy Lube the next time when you're $79 for that same oil change again the next time. Make sure you have a play in place to make sure you get that customer in. and have them buy from you. Okay, so upload your service customers, use it as a custom audience. Again, you can build lookalike audience against this as well. So what dealers always do too is they just say, here's my whole database, go build lookalike audience. Another thing, if you really want to look at it, is you could take your Ford F-150 buyers right now and segment those out and give your vendor or your internal team the F-150 shoppers and build lookalikes off of that, so it can go help you find more F-150 shoppers in your local area as well. So there's a lot of things you can do with the power of this. Don't forget your fixed ops campaigns, guys. Running this from owner data right now, people that are already doing this. Again, someone that's bought from you, if you know that 3 years is about the magic moment when they need cars, you can easily do that by having these campaigns and just give the vendor every month, like, here's people that should be coming up with tire specials coming up, and just hit them with it, just like you would do. This costs literally $20 a month to stay in front of some of these customers, and you're getting massive impression shares, and for nothing else, they know now that you have a tire special, so they're not getting bombarded by Costco when they're in there getting all their milk and eggs for their kids and just saying, oh, dude, you want tires? I could do that too for you, right? That's what's happening around, okay? Does that make sense, guys, so far? That campaign, I'm like super, like that one, I love a lot. And if you're not a franchise dealer and if you don't have a service bay, that one's a little tougher to do. But you need to come up with some low dollar ticket to turn them from a prospect or an unknown to a customer, because there's a psychological difference when you take someone from not giving you any money to just giving you $10. They become a customer. So think about parts. Is there a part campaign you can run even? If you know they're a Jeep owner and they swap out certain parts, if they are changing their own oil or doing things, what things from a dealer standpoint that you know will help get them in on a low dollar item to make them a customer, so that you can gain more knowledge about that vehicle, shake hands with the customer, and get the relationship start, the face-to-face, which separates your brand from everybody else's, okay? So lever 4, backyard. A lot of you guys said you're not doing this. I would probably say that you may not want to raise your hand. You're probably losing more of your backyard than you think. Again, a lot of dealers, what we see is they put a pin down when they work with digital agencies, and they just circle 30 miles around, okay, or 10 miles around, or 20 miles around. I can tell you the first thing is, if I'm running campaigns, is always start with your PMA. Protect the crap out of your PMA. Own it. Make sure you're hitting every shopper. Make sure you're getting the right impression share inside of that side on there before you start trying to play around with other things. If you're not properly budgeted in your backyard, people will easily take that. So we call it building your fortress around you before you open the gates and start running your horse out the front side of it. But Conquest is, the fact is that there's about 60 to 70% chance that a consumer now will switch brands even at the last minute. There's all these studies by IHS that no matter what, if they're coming down the funnel, they look like they're a Fusion buyer, at the last second, they're a Camry buyer. What the heck just happened to them? Like literally, Toyota just stole my lunch from me out of nowhere. And it happens all over the place, and it's just because someone incentivized them, they got the right hook, the right offer in, and many of you guys know that your offers change a lot, right? And all of a sudden, you were so uncompetitive on a brand or a model, now all of a sudden becomes super competitive out of nowhere, because like the OEM realizes, crap, we're losing market share, we need to come out with a great campaign. So you've got to be ready to start talking to all shoppers that are in that same model line that you have on that. So again, this is just a simple thing to stay in front of people. Take your top vehicles and make sure you're putting them in front of your local buyers, and also target your competitors. I don't know how many of you guys have been seeing some of the new models that are coming out all over the place, but I just walked the show at NADA, and I'm in the industry and I follow a lot of this stuff, and I looked at like a Mitsubishi SUV that years ago I would have never looked at Mitsubishi. And I was looking at that thing, I was like, wow, that looks really, really nice. That's a Mitsubishi? If I'm thinking that, trust me, your local market is thinking that same thing. And so the more you can show them, hey, this is our model lineup. These are new cars that we're having. Like Alfa Romeo, they've got a whole new lineup on there. They're making they're storming up the gates right now on stuff. It's because they're putting their vehicles in front of people that are most likely to look at that brand and go, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm driving a Lexus right now. I could drive a Juliet, and that's a pretty sweet ride that is in a similar price point. And so you can conquest people very easily by just making people aware of what's going on. So again, this is taking the OEM stuff and trying to stay consistent with it. But also don't underestimate your voice. dealers are so reliant on the OEM, on what they're telling them to push out there. And so if you look at this doesn't have big Ford presence on here in a lot of ways. You want to make sure it fits you and what you're doing. And so if you're coming in, make sure that you get your copy, your tone. Consumers are all asking, can I afford this vehicle? Is this the right vehicle for me? Look at the five questions that every consumer asks themselves by the Google studies that are out there. It's like, can I afford this car? Is it the right vehicle for me? They're all asking that, and trust me, that's where a sales guy comes in, because Mr. Jones, yes, that is the vehicle that you should buy, and you can afford it. We've pre-financed you. Here's what's going on. You can do the same thing that's on here, so you can answer things. You are the expert. You're the local, and if you put your face on camera on here, trust me, people will notice you around, and people will start walking in going, I saw you on Facebook. I saw you here. This is your new TV, guys. I hate to say it, this is the new TV. So you have to get comfortable with this medium, and you have to think about what you would say to them, and each month you should probably deliver different types of messaging. But again, make sure that people are seeing your messages on here. Leasing is an underutilized area. Again, there's a ton of data you can unlock on this and hit people with specific lease offers that are on here as well. So we really like to see that people take leasing out, because a lot of people are payment driven now. A lot of people have gotten away from the I can buy it for $40,000 and for 0% for 72 months, and they're just like, what's the monthly payment on that? Leasing presents a pretty good offer for us to introduce them to the brand, especially with Conquesting on here. So there is a whole bunch of lease data that's available from Polk that is actionable with the unlocked data sets that you can run lease data into lease intenders. Okay, people that have shown interest that they're going to lease a car. So if they've been on, maybe your competitor's website and they're looking at leases, remember Facebook is cataloging data from all sorts of avenues right now and able to get really, really smart about who they're targeting. Okay, the fifth lever is the third-party lead side of it. How many of you guys are buying third-party leads right now? How many of you are on a third-party site, like listing portal? At least one of them. That's it? Really? No one, you're not... Edmunds, Cars, Car Gurus, all of those pretty much across? Okay. So one of the big things that we see with this is when we typically look at a dealer's budget, it's about 2/3 towards third party and about 1/3 to themselves. That needs to be shifted, 100%. It needs to be at least 2/3 to you, 1/3 to the third party. If not, fully eliminating over the next year, that should be your goal. But don't do it overnight. Okay, these tools and techniques weren't available a couple years ago. They're now the same tools and techniques that these companies have been using to get the leads that they sell back to you on things. And you can now do this right now. And about 3 weeks ago, it became official on Facebook and released to the entire public. We've been in alpha test with them for about 7 months now, where we can actually do dynamic VIN leads for you right off of Facebook, where someone looked at a car on your site, they didn't convert, we could put that same car in front of them, and instead of sending them back to your website that won't convert them again, we literally just had them hit a button on Facebook, it pulls up all their information, and they submit it right from Facebook right into your CRM system with a VIN lead just like you get from a third party that's out there. It tells you the exact car they looked at, the price that they saw out there, and all the information about the consumer that was registered with Facebook. So the phone number they used to recover their password on Facebook, so you know it's a good phone number, the email they use to log in with Facebook, so you know it's a good email, all of that stuff, turnkey, and within 30 seconds inside of your CRM. I'm going to show you how to do that side. Again, this is what you're facing out there. Here's a Toyota dealer in Sarasota getting hit with Tampa Bay Toyota, so if you're a Tampa Bay Toyota, great job with this ad in a way of stopping someone in their tracks saying, hey, before you buy, right, come check us out. So looking at this is what's happening when you go to third-party portals and sites. When you talk about Facebook, you are controlling that customer. That's your spot. There's not your competitor right there. It'd be very tough for them to be in the right bar with you in the same time that you're in frame. Facebook truly allows you to control that frame, because as they're scrolling through on a mobile device, you are right there with your inventory. So don't let your competition come right in. I'd be pretty pissed personally if this was happening to me, because I'm putting my cars out there and then I'm getting poached by someone that's in a bigger market, and the consumers, when I talk to consumers, they truly think if I drive to a bigger metro, I'm going to get a better deal. And I sit with consumers all the time. I'm like, it doesn't work that way, guys. And when you go to service and you go to, for the loyalty side of this thing, it just creates a bad experience overall. So, this is what's happening to us today. This is what it could happen as. You can literally have your vehicles of what they specifically looked at. So just say they came in and they looked at a few vehicles of yours. You can actually target them based on the exact types of vehicles, price points, colors, all of that stuff right now, and bring those cars right back out. So I can tell you a consumer doesn't wake up in the morning and go, you know what'd be really fun today? I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go to 15 dealers' websites, and I'm going to check, and I'm going to go to their SRP page, I'm going to filter it down, I'm going to see what kind of stock they have in, and I'm going to do that across every single one of these. So that's why they go to Auto Trader and Cars, right? Because it consolidates all of that. Imagine though, because they don't wake up and want to go to Auto Trader and Cars either, but what's the number one app they wake up? There's two apps that people usually open right away when they wake up in the morning. It's one of two. It's email or Facebook, okay? It's pretty much one of those two. So you literally, the customer was looking yesterday at F-150s. You happen to get a whole bunch of new deliveries of F-150s. You could take all of those right to the consumer tomorrow on their Facebook newsfeed and say, hey, these just came in, hot off the press, right? Go ahead and look at these new vehicles that I have in. They're brand new. Or if they're aging, you could say recently reduced vehicles. Here's my stuff I'm trying to get rid of. And you can bring that to the consumer 5, 6, 7 times a day if you want, right? If they're shopping and they're down at your VDP level, they're about to buy a vehicle. You've got to keep bringing messaging to them and keep showing them stuff and get them engaged in there because they're looking to go transact somewhere. So what you have the ability to, what we normally start is we'll take pre-owned inventory, we'll group it up, we'll take all your SUVs, and we'll go out to SUV intenders in your local market that are in your PMA, and we'll try to get them to opt in, we call it. So they will go in and look at it, and we're not trying to get a lead right away. Again, we're trying to get them to self-opt in. I want to say, you say you're in market for an SUV, here's a bunch of SUVs that we deem that we think you can afford. Click on the one that you like. If you like it, come in, and if they shop multiple vehicles in that same consideration set because they're going deeper on there, that means that person's pretty intent on that. Now I can turn around and I can ask them for a lead. Okay, now I've earned the right to have that second conversation on there, and I can turn around and hit them with something like this that may come in and scroll through a bunch of vehicles. They just click on here. This is a very limited set that we're asking for, and you see they just submitted, went right to my VDP. I captured the lead, now they're viewing my page. So I've already had them on my page. They already looked at the red vehicle. For some reason, they want to look at it again. They click on it. Now I'm going to ask them, hey, before would you like some more information on this? Would you like to check the availability? Would you like a test drive? And in the next 2 months, there's a really cool feature coming out. It's in alpha right now, but I know it'll be released. We're not supposed to really talk about it, but the buttons will finally be automotive specific. So we're going to have the ability on Facebook, and you'll see when this comes up in a second here, that this says sign up right now. It'll say test drive, it'll say check availability. There'll be native buttons just like there is on the travel sites coming soon on there. That's going to boost engagement drastically. So if you're not using this strategy right now, we use the same exact lead hooks that are on your website. Check availability, value your trade, check get e-price, whatever ones you want to do, we can put them right in here and we can capture that. We can even do make offer on here where the consumer enters an offer on a lead ad now, and they put it right into there. So, the companies like Make My Deal and things that are downstairs doing that, you can literally rebuild that right in here and have these tools and widgets for yourself. So the power right now is in the dealer's hand to literally cut probably thousands of dollars in vendor costs by tools and widgets and things like that. Actually reach the eyeballs of where people live today, not by fake platforms that people are creating. And they're not just fake, but there's siloed processes. And yes, will they flow through there? Sure. But if you don't give them your money and your inventory, then you don't have them competing against you in SEO. You're not co-opting them to go buy radio and TV ads against it, and you're not being part of that side of it where you can bring them directly in. If you spent $5,000 here versus $5,000 there, you'd wind up with about 600 to 700 leads on VINs easily right now. We see about a $1,500 budget will get you about 125 to 150 VIN leads that close about 12 to 18% right now on average across the country. I'd rather replace that than a 4% close ratio and having 400 leads come from a provider and start doing that. And I can generate these on my own now. So I am encouraging dealers, take a look at your media mix right now. And if you are not doing these new VIN-based lead ads that literally just got released, this would be the number one thing I walk out and find a provider that does that. Obviously, you know, I'm not trying to pitch, we do this as well, and we do it really, really effectively. And this thing is cranking through, and the thing I love about this is it keeps it spot on to how a dealer works their process. This isn't a test drive offer that comes in and our employees don't know how to handle that. This is a VIN-based lead. They know exactly how to handle that. Our BDC knows how to handle it. Our sales guys love it because it's a VIN-based lead. That's why third parties sell you the VIN-based leads and not so much just a Maxima shopper lead, because they know they don't close as high, right? A VIN-based lead is kind of the holy grail from what we see. So you now have the ability to do this on your own. And what's cool about it is it goes right from Facebook right into there. And you can send them to any page. It doesn't have to go right to this page. You could send them after this to your finance page. So a lot of times we'll start the finance application on Facebook where they fill in general data, and then we'll kick them to your finance application and get the full detail on there, and you'll see a duplicate lead come through. But at least we capture it, because not everybody will fill out that entire form over there, but we capture a higher intent lead on the other side of it. So you can use this in many, many ways, guys, that are out there. Okay, so to recap real quick, you know, keep the conversation going. Make sure you build retargeting just like your conversations are internally. Have follow-up online. Use the Facebook data to pre-qualify, find your hiring candidates. Reinvent the auction by bringing these vehicles back in with the service offers that can bring your ideal customer in there. Grow your backyard by targeting these competitive owners in lease data. And you know, you really have the power right now, I'm telling you, to kill it. And there's some dealers that are in here that we work with. They could tell you how they literally went from spending a lot of money on third parties to spending no. For over a year or two, they've been off of that through different types of sessions on there. And they're writing their own case studies right now because they're truly controlling their market. They're hitting their numbers every single month, and they're literally not relying on other people to do the work for them. You only have to control 8 zip codes, guys. 8 zip codes to 12 zip codes. Somewhere in that area is your PMA. It's not a hard game when you think about it. These model line owners live there already. The data supports all of this stuff. You have the data targeting in place. If you're not doing this, or you say you're doing this in-house, make sure you're doing this in-house if you're doing it. We hear so many times, I'm doing this in-house. They check maybe one pillar of a box that's on here, and you get very minimal. You have 6 months, I'm telling you, to use the data from Polk. It will be gone. There will be a very specific handful of people who will have Polk data available, and I can tell you dealers won't have it in your hands, and this will be a competitive advantage that will be hard to get later on. So use it right now while it's available. I'd highly shift some of your dollars onto here, especially during the summer months. Increase your first party leads that are on here, and if you need help, again, with these bonus resources, you can email this I think it's team@dealersunited.com for the deck, but marketing if you want your data unlocked. You can actually, how many of you guys know you can actually look at total sales attribution on Facebook and see how many cars that Facebook helped you sell through click attribution and view attribution? How many of you know how to do that? 1 or 2? This thing is so powerful. When you pump your data back in, it'll tell you the exact campaigns that are working, so you can go do more of that and kill the things that aren't, and you can build full funnel. You don't need 16 vendors downstairs that say they can do attribution when it's already free of charge out of the box with this. You just need to know how to do it. Okay, so there's companies that can help you do this. Don't just check the box on this. It's truly amazing on what you can do on this and see on this side of it. So these are the campaigns. I'll open it up to questions and answers. We have a few minutes if you guys would like to go through. Is there any Q&A? Well, there's got to be 1 or 2 questions.
All right, when you're an advertiser and you're running a Facebook ad campaign manager, can you get visibility to your client to actually see the analytics directly?
Yes. Yeah, and you could do view only as well, so that they can just see their own, and they can't touch the ads and like manipulate them. So that we don't allow our clients to go in and make budget changes because there's algorithms running all of that. The last thing you want to do is have someone go in there and like disable an ad set that's supposed to be working. But they.
If you're a dealer and you have your own account, can you give access to that ad?
Absolutely, yeah. Facebook has made it awesome to be able to work with people and help out with your advertising purposes. So, and then even what's called the pixel that you put on your website, that can be shared across your ad account and then like an advertiser's ad account, but they're all working to the same synergistic approach so that you don't have to have 2 pixels running on that side of it, and then the dealer owns the pixel data. So it's super important on that as well.
So, one of my clients, I'm here on behalf of Skills Auto Sales, and we're running the retargeting and stuff like that. We don't use the lead format. From what I understand, you have to have it integrated with the CRM to get that info.
Exactly.
Now, are there certain because I don't have access to this info yet, but are there certain car dealership CRMs specifically? I know there
Yes.
are in real estate, but do
Yep.
those integrate with Facebook Lead Ads?
No, you can use a third-party tool if you guys want. There's a tool out there called Leads Bridge that solves some of this stuff. It's about $400 a year. It's the cheapest thing because they don't know automotive, so they haven't jacked the price yet for you guys. But most of the providers that do this, we have a custom integration. It doesn't use that because theirs takes about 20 minutes to get a lead into the system. Ours is about 13 seconds and it's in. Leads Bridge, you can look them up online, yeah.
When serving the digital ads, serving demand for the dealership or serving it for a specific product, what's your response? Try to get a conversion.
I guess I'm not understanding the question. I'm sorry.
So you talk about digital advertising.
Yep.
So we're trying to advertise a dealership digitally.
Yep.
So we're trying to get somebody to click on that ad.
Yep.
Should the ad be generic towards the store, or do you get more success putting ads specifically towards the dealer?
Every campaign's slightly different, and the way Facebook works is there's different optimization goals that you start with. So it could be just getting a like or a comment on your post versus a click versus a conversion, right? So we think about things as cold audiences, warm audiences, and hot audiences. So someone that's on my VDP page, that's a hot audience. I'm slamming them down with deals and I'm telling them everything about me. Someone that's way up here, I'm just trying to get to know them, right? So it's kind of hard to answer that, but you would always advertise from your dealership, not from a third party. So again, you can go to some of these providers. There's a lot of third parties out there that will take your inventory and put them in a carousel with all your other dealer competition in there because they're just trying to get clicks and leads off any vehicle, right? But with you could put your name, just your vehicles that are on there, that's on there. Then you would want to make sure you're optimizing for either VDP views and looking at that side or for conversion. I don't know if that helps, but that's, you want to always, for me, you want to advertise yourself as that. Whether you go out and you offer value, like by doing a walk around video, we use video advertising a lot where we'll take a new F-150 and we'll go out to F-150 and tenders and we're just trying to build value. We're going over the differences between the base model, the middle line, and not. And we're just seeing if people will watch that video. Cool part about Facebook is you can actually retarget someone that didn't even click on that video and went to your website, but just watch 30 seconds or a minute of that video. Those are someone that's highly interested. I'll move them into my warm audience. And all I'm trying to do is take the 100,000 people that I think are in my area that can buy and get them down to the 6,000 or 7,000 that I'm trying to move to actually convert at that point. And that's where I'm spending my money, in that 6,000 or 7,000 people to flush them down into leads and sales. Does that make sense? Did I answer a little bit more? Sorry.
That screen back up there that had Facebook on it, or all you get that?
This?
That one right there.
Yep.
Probably sure my but I have a question about salespeople versus a dealership Facebook. So we have a wonderful Facebook page, and we have social media people that handle all this for us. My question is, do you think that salespeople should have individual Facebooks attached to the dealership and use their marketing and do everything that way? Because it exposes the customer, I mean, this is old school, but it exposes the customer to so many other things that could be on Facebook.
Yep.
I just want to know what your impression of that was.
So a dealer's Facebook page is dead. Let's just face it. You get zero organic reach off of that. A person will get a lot of reach, but remember, a person only cares about the car person when they're in the deal for a car, right? So any way you can reach the consumer and build a personalization around that, you should probably try to use. But I'm a big fan of trying to control the process from a dealership too, so that everything funnels back into that CRM. So if a sales guy leaves or he's not there for the day, all that data is still there. Plus, a lot of times you find, individuals don't have their Facebook profile up to date. So I would always put a policy in and say, hey, if you're going to run things from your Facebook side, this is what it has to go through an audit on our side, and it has to stand for our brand values as well. But I would always try to bring that back in and have them, use Facebook Messenger and other ways to reach the consumer, but be very cautious on kind of individuals branding, that side out, especially if they don't have a brand for themselves. I see a lot of guys right now, they're creating their own page for themselves and they're like, I'm the Honda Accord guy, and he's the guy that, if you're buying an Accord, and he's building his own little database. But guess what? That guy leaves, he could take his Honda Accord database anywhere he wants. So if he's doing a really good job there, how could he do that for your dealership and build it to your, build an Accord personality on your, that's owned by your dealership, and let him build that up for you and be known for the dealer Honda Accord side of it. Does that make sense? And don't let him build his pixel up and take it on you. Yeah, I mean, that's great for him. He's building a brand called him, right? And you understand in sales, like, once he does that, he's got an audience and he's in your local market. Like, for me, when I buy cars, I text my guy every time. I got a guy that I buy every car from. I never shop online. I'm like, I want this, and he goes back and forth and he just gets it, right? So it's pretty simple. So once you have that guy, and that's what I think is missing from auto, and a lot of times someone doesn't have the guy on the other side, that guy becomes the trusted guy. See you later, customers. He can redirect that to your biggest competition if you want. So have that guy work on your social team to bring the back up to here and position him inside of your dealership, but own the pixel data that he's building. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that pixel is worth everything. He's building his own digital CRM. I mean, pixels are CRM, guys. They're anonymous people. Go ahead. You should build a group site, most likely a group Facebook page, and they give you the ability to put your other locations into there. Each page, and every brand makes you have your own page for the way, like Ford, and if you're with a franchise, I'm assuming, they all require basically that you have your own. So even like we had VW dealer that had a Land Rover dealership. They had a page together, so we just moved that to a group page that they focus most of their energy around, but we have to have two other pages that are kind of linked up to there. It all brings it up to one power, but yeah, yeah, Facebook actually makes things really simple on the backside to build these, because remember, they're working with like Chick-fil-A's, right, that have Chick-fil-A's everywhere, and then they have zone managers with Chick-fil-A's under. So they have all this really great stuff, and they had years to learn from Google on like where Google screwed up. So they made it really nice for businesses to operate under there. Any other questions? Well, I'll stick around if you guys have any questions. Thanks so much for your time. Hopefully you can walk away, and if you need any help, I'll be more happy to talk to you. Thank you.